Go for it.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's the one and only what is it? Oh yes, today I am the impeccable gorilla coming to you live on another Hump Day with Bix and V, and I'm here with none other than the man, the myth, the legend, the Pathfinder on the road to Ruta, the Baron of Bitcoin, the Sultan of Silver, the Gandalf of Gold, the Czar of all he surveys, the one and only Bix Weir. The men hate him and the women want to be with him. Bix, welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm good. The impeccable V. Huh? What are you wearing, a suit today?
How did you know?
And you just went to the grooming station, that the dog goes to?
I did. They actually put a bow tie on me, and they combed out all my fur. All my hair. They combed it out really well, and they even put a tattoo on me. They spray painted it on my arm.
A gorilla in a suit. I got the image right now.
Yeah, you have it. Sometimes I like to wear the tie, but it kind of chokes me. That's the whole thing. It just takes me back to the zoo days, man. I'm, very traumatized of being, choked and stuff. So, that's what it is.
Let's not talk about your sex life. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Let's not go into that. It's very scary. Chimpanzees run when they see me. No, kidding.
So much going on out there, dude. We got to get going. So much is
Let's
happening.
light it up, my man. Where do you want to begin? There's a lot of things going on with the Trump. You have told me that CNN was trying to ask him a question, and he said, "Listen, I don't answer to fake news."
I love that when he. I mean, the CNN guy. CNN is literally trying to foment World War III with this Russia thing.
They're so stupid.
They want nuclear bombs to fly. CNN needs to be taken out as an entity in a news organization. I know their ratings have dropped massively, but why they're still given a ticket to go into these press conferences, and the guy wouldn't shut up, and Trump says, "I'm not answering you. You're fake news." That was awesome, because the fake news meme that they started right when the pedophile stuff came out with Pizzagate, that was their idea. Oh, we'll call everything fake news that we disagree with. And now it's being used for all their stuff. The fake news beam is being destroyed. Trump just I think that's the final stake in the heart of the fake news vampire right there. When Trump calls out CNN in his first news conference in a while and says, "You're fake news." I love it.
I love it, man. I mean, that whole meme. They created this whole fake news label thinking that they have some sort of credibility. These guys are idiots. They have a 6% approval rating from individuals in every single major poll, 6%, and they're going to create this fake meme, and it's done nothing but backfire on them, Bix. It's taken them apart from the inside out, and they don't know what to do, man.
Well, this whole idea of turning Russia into the bogeyman, or the boogeyman, the bogeyman's a golf term, into the boogeyman, and trying to get the nation to be ready to go to war with Russia is absolutely insane. It was just released, and CNN yesterday said, "Oh, we have this amazing breaking news that Putin has all this dirt on Trump, and this is a CNN exclusive, blah blah blah." And now it turns out it was all bullshit, and the guy who leaked it was John McCain, the war asshole, war hawk that wants to go to war with Russia as well, along with CNN, and it's blowing up in their face.
And along with Mrs. John McCain, aka Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, this is just shows you all these the alliances are breaking down, and the once supposed enemies of the left side and the right side. Now it's the neocons grouping up with the CNN and the liberal left to try to start World War III. It will fail because the people in charge are no longer there. The people in charge are the good guys now, and it's so much more than Trump. Trump is he's the face of it right now, but if they take Trump out, there's 50 people behind him who are still going to go through with the takedown of these bad guys and the changing of our country. So it doesn't really matter if Trump is there or not. He would be a great guy to have in the reorganization of America,
right?
After it collapses due to the economic problems. But it is not dependent upon Trump. And I think it's right now they're going through the congressional approval of his, his cabinet members and all the people he appoints. I think it's real interesting watching those hearings because there's some people you can kind of tell who are the bad guys and who are the good guys in Congress, and who are the people. And it's not just the Democrat and Republican. A Democrat that asks sensible questions is probably working with the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
A Democrat that tries to stir up, Russian crap is probably working for the bad guys.
Yeah.
And the guy being interrogated, the first guy was Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General. I think that's the most important position.
Right. And they kept calling him a racist. Meanwhile, his Asian grandkids are on the stage with him, and they're like, "You're a racist. You're a racist." It doesn't work.
Well, he comes from the South, so and he's an old guy. He's been around a long time. You definitely get things that the liberal left are gonna not approve of. I think the most important thing that I saw in that was there was two things. One was Dianne Feinstein, who's as left as they get, but I believe she is working with the good guys. She's in charge of the. She's got some position. What is it? Hold on a second. She's in charge of some defense committee.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. And her, I mean, it's literally one of the most important positions, and within the defense community. And let me see, she is the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. That's a pretty big deal. And I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people hate her, and with her stance on guns.
Mr. America, Mr. and Mrs. America, it's time to hand in your guns.
I believe the whole gun thing. You notice that every time there's one of these false flags, and they say we're gonna, we have to stop the guns, and we have to stop the guns.
Sales go up 20%.
Sales go up 20%, and they know it, and they never pass a law.
Exactly. I think it's done on purpose.
I know it's done on purpose.
Yeah.
I know they know that for this transition to work away from these bad guys, you got to arm America.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what they're doing.
It makes sense. Your theory that you just postulated fits into some very advanced research firms that have ran the numbers and the data on this and really looked at it and thought and said to themselves, every time a so-called gun control thing mandate is floated out there, gun sales they rise 20%. It's like you can set your watch by it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And nothing.
There's no way they're going to take it away. Nothing gets done.
No law gets passed. And all it's done, every single one of these false flag mass shootings, not all of them are false flags, and people do die in false flag attacks. That was seen on 9/11 most of all. But every time it's done, the people arm themselves, and we have to be armed for this transition. First of all, no country would ever invade us because we have an armed citizenry. What are they going to do? They can take out our cities, and then they start walking into the United States with 1 million troops. And every time they turn a corner, somebody's got a gun and firing at them. No, nobody can ever invade us, and our government will never be able to attack us either. That's the key. Anyway, back to the reason I brought up Feinstein and hers. I think she's the co-chair of the vetting of at least of Jeff Sessions, and her first question was, "What are you going to do about the massive child trafficking problem?" And I'm thinking, oh my God, half the senators in Congress are involved in this child trafficking and the pedophile stuff, and for that to be the number one question, I think.
Wait, a reporter asked Sessions.
No. Dianne Feinstein. That was her first question to him. What are you going to do about child trafficking?
Oh my God! If that's not a veiled threat
to
the establishment and to the deep state, I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, and that's going to be the first thing that comes up when Trump gets into office. We gotta save these kids that are getting abused by these sick. I just stopped doing the research in it because it was so obvious, and it made me sick every time I looked into it.
It's too damn dark, man.
Yeah, but that has to be fixed. I think that's the number one thing in America. and that will be very disruptive to Washington D.C. Obviously, I can't even count the number of people that I think will go down on that. But yeah, that was very interesting. But the best part, from the road to Ruta work that I've done, there was a single guy who kind of spearheaded the good guys takeover a few years back, and he was an Attorney General, Michael Mukasey. Remember him?
Sounds very familiar, to be honest with you.
Well, Michael Mukasey was Attorney General, and he was an Attorney General. He was when he was a judge, he presided over like the 9/11 conspirators and all that. But his hands were tied because these bad guys were in charge. If you speak out about this stuff back then, 6, 7, 8 years ago, you would be killed, as we had seen over the last 100 years. But I think he got enough people together, and I think he was the guy spearheading the whole takedown of the bad guys. And his son, Mark Mukasey, is the guy who took down Bernie Madoff. And Bernie Madoff was...
Right, I knew it sounded familiar. They're from Connecticut, father and son team.
Yeah. And he was Attorney General for a long time. Brilliant guy. But yeah, he got people together and said, we got to take these guys down. And that's what's been going on. And if you watch the Jeff Sessions interrogation in Congress right now, sitting right next to him is Michael Mukasey.
No.
Yeah. So I think Jeff Sessions will be the guy, a strong enough Attorney General to uphold the law in the United States, which is unbelievable when it comes to, I mean, you got the CIA and the NSA and all the FBI and
who
all
are
these
soon to be DOA, very soon.
All of them, they get their findings, but in order to litigate anything, they got to go to the Attorney General. He's the guy who makes the call on the legal side. So I think there'll be a huge purging of our national security infrastructure. And I think Sessions is the guy to be there.
As well as it should be, man, because they're not doing any real intelligence work. All it's done is turn into a political fifth column. That's all it is. It's a politicized fifth column. There's very little intel work done. Instead of having real warriors heading up the CIA, you have these pansy brainwashed libtards out of Yale and Harvard that are heading it up.
It's not just them. I mean, it's the Republicans too. I mean,
without a doubt. Without a doubt, the neocons.
The swamp is very large.
Yes, it is.
And I think that Sessions would be the right guy. If Michael Mukasey is backing him up, I think that is a huge step. And I was happy to see that Mukasey was there, because I'd done analysis on Mukasey for the last 10 years, and telling people, hey, keep an eye on this guy. He's doing stuff behind the scenes that is going to put together the good guys. There were always good guys. They just couldn't talk. They weren't organized as the bad guys. And they lost control of our country back in the 60s after they killed Kennedy. And everybody's been scared to death to do anything or say anything. And that's exactly what it says in the Road to Ruta comics that came out of the Fed. They talk about what they call the big people being afraid. Everybody's afraid of these big people, and then Ruta comes out and says, I'm not afraid of the big people. So yeah, this all goes back to the Road to Ruta stuff. And so yeah, I think but I'm also very, very troubled and worried about some of the people that Trump has picked, especially Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, who was the computer rigging head of Goldman Sachs. That was his job. He was in charge of IT and the computer rigging.
Right.
And then you got Vincent Viola, the head of what was it? He changed the name of his company from EWT LLC to Virtu Financial. Mm-hmm. And all they did was rig the market. That was that company that went public recently that had 18 months of never a losing day on their trading. Yeah. If anybody doesn't lose a penny in 18 months, something is going on. And I pointed these guys out when the name of their company was EWT LLC, and they were authorized participant in the SLV, the big silver ETF.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who is this company? and where do they come from? And Vincent Viola was just like Bernie Madoff was the head of what was it, the NASDAQ, or he was the chairman of one of
Adolf
the
was the head
exchanges,
of it was the Nasdaq.
and Vincent Viola was head of another exchange. I forgot what exchange it was, but and both of them left. And Bernie Madoff was all about computer market rigging. It was the second floor. Bernie Madoff's office was on 2 floors. The second floor, no one was allowed to go into, and that's where all the computer trading was going on and computer rigging. So this guy Vincent Viola is just as bad, if not worse. He's connected to Robert Rubin, who was in charge of computer program rigging and the rigging of the gold market for Goldman Sachs, and then as U.S. Treasury Secretary. So yeah, it's all connected. It scares me to death that Trump is putting Mnuchin and Vincent Viola. Vincent Viola is going to be head of the army, which is really bizarre.
Head of the army?
Yeah. He was in the army, and then he got kicked out of the army, or he left the army. There's so much, and he went to Wall Street, and he's a computer rigger. That I've gone over this a million times. How if you get behind the scenes and you have a computer, and you're allowed to do this by the bad guys or the good guys or whoever allows you to do it, you're unstoppable. Computers and derivatives rule every single market.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm scared of. Either they found religion and they're like, these are the two best market riggers. They'll be the best guys to take the system down.
Yeah, they'd also be the best guys to unwind it.
Or
that's the theory I'm hearing.
Yeah, but if you unwind it, what are you unwinding? You're unwinding the price distortion that has been in place for decades. There's no way to unwind that. How are you going to unwind silver to $1,000 an ounce? How are you going to unwind the stock market
slowly?
Well, no, that's the thing. That's the reason we're in this position in the first place, is that they've been trying to smooth out the transition, and that's always the excuse. It'd be too disruptive. It's been going on since before 1913. That's the whole.
I guess then they'll speed it out. Then they'll speed it up, and if you want to collapse it, then if you want to demolition the thing, these will be the demolition guys. I mean, they know the system. They help create it. They'll know how to take it down.
Well, see, that's the problem. The demolition, all it takes is to stop the rigging. So these guys aren't in there for demolition. These guys are in there to try to smooth out the process, which means it'll be continued market rigging, continued lies to the American people if these guys get put in office.
Well, maybe there's some agreements between the good guys and the bad guys. Hey, we'll let you guys take over, but let us exit smoothly stage left.
Well, it's not just the bad. I mean, it's the good guys now who have been. I mean, Greenspan was a good guy, and he rigged the market for 30 years. So whether or not the good guys and bad guys, I think the U.S. Treasury is the people, since they're in charge of the Exchange Stabilization Fund. They have the computer in the basement of the Treasury that they can click a button and end the game, or they can click a button and continue the game, and it's all it takes is a click of a mouse to rig these markets, because they have unlimited funds, and there's no oversight, because the CFTC and the SEC are allowing this to happen. Obviously, with the CFTC and silver, Deutsche Bank comes out and says, yes, we rigged the silver market for the past 10 years, and here's the people we did it with, and here are the emails, and here's exactly how it happened. And what does the CFTC do? Nothing. Doesn't say a word. After 3 investigations, they haven't said a word. So I am very hopeful that Trump will do the right thing and bring peace, justice, and truthfulness back into our country. But I am the first one who's going to jump up and down and say, you're still rigging the frickin' markets.
Yeah.
And if it's for a smooth transition, screw that. They've tried to do a smooth transition for the past 100 years, and that's exactly how we got into this position we are now.
Right. But if they do it so fast, the global disruptions would be absolutely terrifying.
Well, here's the deal. And that's the excuse. They've said every day for the last 100 years. It's going to be terrifying anyway. And if you delay it, or if you try to smooth it out, the bad guys are going to figure out how to play the game, which they always have, and they're going to continue the game for the good of the people, so it's not too disruptive. I mean, it doesn't if Trump gets in and continues to rig the markets, then nothing has changed.
Hmm.
They will still have all the bad guys will still have all the money. They'll just wait it out until the people are on their knees begging for someone to help them, and the bad guys will come in again. It's happened over and over again. If Trump really is the guy who's going to change things, he's got to change it right away. There's no smooth transition. It, all, there's no way to have a smooth transition, and that's the excuse they've used for I don't know how long. The bad guys will take over again, and then we'll be in the same position we are 8 years, 10 years, 100 years from now. It has to be done now. That's my take, and it pisses me off that he's put these people in these positions because there's no other reason to put them in those positions other than to continue the con under the guise of, oh, we need a smooth transition.
Oh yeah, maybe continue the con until we have enough infrastructure jobs built up, enough manufacturing back and humming, and
Wait,
then
wait, 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 wait,
exploit
wait,
it.
wait, 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 wait. No, 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 no. That doesn't solve the problem. The wealth that the bad guys have will still be there. They will still be in charge. We're not taking out these bad guys. Who owns the DTCC? Who owns all the shares of every
Right,
stock known to man?
right.
It's not there is no smooth transition here. The stock market is rehypothecated 100 times. It has to be if Trump is the guy who the guy working for the good guys and is the guy who's going to make America great again. It cannot be made great again on the back of lies and deception. I'm sorry, that's what Greenspan tried to do since the computer programs went in the 70s. Oh,
Yeah.
we can smooth out this transition
So,
and make it
so you're
that
saying they should just go in guns blazing?
no guns blazing. Go in and drop your guns. Stop the computer manipulation.
Yeah,
The markets.
but that's setting the if they stop the manipulation, that's like rigging the entire building with explosives
It
and
is
then
not.
detonating it.
It's already rigged with explosive. It's going to
No,
go
I
off.
understand,
There's
but you just
no
can't
doubt.
simply stop the trillions of. I mean, like, look at the DTCC. What's being churned? There's 34 trillion a day is churned through there on a daily basis. Churned 34 trillion,
Well,
right? And then all the
doesn't
other
that
stocks and
doesn't
all,
that raise
right?
a red flag to you?
Of course it does. The whole thing reeks to high heaven. But the thing is, if they go in and detonate it all at once and collapse the whole system all at once, I mean, yeah. Do the bad guys have the cash and their stash in there? 1,000% they do. But there's also a lot of other people that'll be absolutely. I mean, there are people's savings and retirements or
Oh, it's
so
gone
many
already.
things. I
It's gone
know, but
already.
it will be 10 times worse. At least maybe because again, we don't have all the parameters here and all the angles. Maybe they can unwind it where there's something left, or it'll be an easier transition when we transition off into a more of a physical economy with a silver-backed currency, which is very probable and is being
Then who
kicked
gets
around.
what? Who's the decider? That's always
I don't know.
if you
That's the
read
variable.
Greenspan's book. You read Greenspan's book, and
Which
he's
one, Maestro or the
no the Age
his
of Tribute.
biography? Okay. Oh, Age of Tribute.
Yeah,
Okay.
right on the back. I got it right here. Hang on a second.
That's the book where he says this is a detective story, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. There's all kinds of clues in there, but it says I won't be able to find it for the moment. But what it says is that the biggest problem with the central bank is deciding who gets what, and that's exactly what a smooth transition would have to be about. Who gets what? Do you keep the kind of the have and have nots at the same level they are now, or do you not? No lessons will be learned from a smooth transition. Let me guarantee you that. We need to learn lessons. We need to go back to our constitutional form of government. And any delays, like you're talking about, this is the same argument they've been using since before the creation of the Federal Reserve. We have to have a smooth transition. That's why we are in the position we are today.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, people are going to die. They're going to die anyway. They might not die today if we go for the smooth transition, but they will die the day that the smooth transition ends, because there is no smooth transition. And half of the good guys, Trump was not put in that position where he is because all the good guys said, oh, this is our guy. he was put in that position because there's a portion of the good guys who want to make this smooth transition. And a larger portion of the good guys are saying there's no such thing as a smooth transition. Ron Paul, Alan Greenspan, many of the other guys, Michael Mukasey, there's no such thing as a smooth transition. All the smooth transition does is get us deeper and deeper into the place we are right now. And the place we are right now, we were scratching our heads and saying, oh my God, how did everything get so screwed up? It got so screwed up because they've been lying to the people. And because of the smooth transition theory, and the smooth transition theory, all it does is delay and make worse the crash that is going to hit. It's going to hit. Let's just everybody acknowledge it has to happen for 50,000 reasons, because of the distortion in the markets. Because like every time you put money into your brokerage account, they don't go out and buy the stock. They rehypothecate them 100 times, and nobody owns any stock because there's way too many out there that get traded every day to cover the total float of the company. The SEC says it themselves that I think it's 300 million shares are not settled every single day. So whose shares are those, and why aren't they being settled? Because everything's put into a pool, and it's a game of musical chairs. So
yeah, and you got the dark pools. You got a lot of chicanery. You're right about that. It's a complex thing, man. I don't think there's a. I mean, what you're proposing is it's very, very strong medicine indeed.
I'm proposing to be honest.
Yeah.
And without honesty, there is no America. That's how we lost our country in the first place.
Yeah, and without honesty, we have no policy.
Deal, and just read John Perkins's book.
Yeah,
and you'll see what America's all about. We're about lying, cheating, and stealing to be the greatest country in the world.
Yeah, right.
And that's got to end. And if Trump is that change agent or a representative of the good guys who are trying to get back to, a great America, then he won't lie, cheat, and steal. And he'll prove those people wrong who are saying, "Oh, he's such a bad person."
Yeah, he's got 8 years to do it, and he's got to pick and choose his battles.
Well,
it's complex, man.
Are you ready to wait 8 years?
No. I want the system to change. I without a doubt want this whole entire fraudulent financial system to be gone. But I think, but I'm of the camp that thinks that to do it as without as drastic or as dangerous as a chaotic upheaval, to mitigate that as much as possible would be the smart and prudent thing to do. You don't want a lot of innocent.
That's exactly what they said. That's exactly what they said.
No, that's exactly what they said, because they were in charge. They're not in charge anymore.
Well, no. The good guys were in charge back then. I'm talking before the creation of the Federal Reserve. Why was the Federal Reserve was created? This is my theory. Granted, I think it's correct. Was created because they found this massive amount of gold in the Grand Canyon. More gold than was even on the earth at the time. It would have destabilized the currency. It would have literally caused havoc throughout the world and in the United States. And they talked Woodrow Wilson into creating the Federal Reserve so that they could hide the gold and smooth out the transition. And everybody knows what happened after that. The Federal Reserve was created. We've lost 99% of the dollar's value, and the bad guys took over. There's been wars fought because of free money, and it's been the last 100 years has been horrible.
Oh, the last 100 years has been a century of warfare, a century of famine, a century of economic upheavals. I mean, you name it.
All caused because they wanted to smooth out the transition. And that's exactly what you're saying right now. Oh, we need to smooth this thing out. Yeah, make it.
Yeah, but not prolong it. I mean, smooth it out.
It's just gotten worse.
Definitive. Yeah, we've got to do it. It's got to be smooth, but it's got to be done in a definitive way. I think an unwinding could be done in 2 years' time. Completely unwind
to where?
Unwinding to mark to market. Getting well, you pass laws that make dark pools illegal. You end HFTs.
Well, then you in the United States. You in the markets, because those shares are phantom shares, and people think they own shares of stock.
Right.
And the derivative market, what do you do about that?
That is the trigger. You got to pop it. You got to pop it, and then you got to default on the debt. But
Exactly.
again, it's horrendous. But if we go in there and detonate the whole entire system, I think it's far worse, man. I
We're
see
not.
a tremendous. If we go in, if they detonate this whole thing, I see a tremendous loss of life. A
Yes,
tremendous
yes.
loss of life. I'm
There's
talking
no
millions.
doubt.
I'm talking, and dude, I've spoken to guys who worked in everybody on the same consensus. You're talking about, you know, 15 to 25 million dead Americans in 90 days.
How many people died because of the unbacked fiat system over the last 100 years? How
You,
many people?
I mean, forget about
It's
it.
because
It's
every
hundreds,
single war was fought, by the banksters.
300 million people at least in
I
the
would
last
say,
century alone.
well, how many are counting during the Holocaust?
Yeah, I'm counting the Holocaust. I'm counting, under Stalin, under Mao. I'm counting under all that. The fiat system
You
has
blame that
wrought the most
all.
amount of destruction.
It is all due to money
Yeah,
and the concept of money and the lack of honesty in money.
correct. You're 1,000% right. And the fact that it's about centralized state control, and that's what happens. It leads to death and destruction. Fiat currency is a dangerous thing. It's not something to, most people don't realize it's not something to be taken lightly. It's a very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous, especially in the wrong hands.
I
Yeah.
think I know where you're coming from, and that's the argument that the good guys are making for putting Trump in, and it's probably the reason they're putting these market riggers into the Trump administration is to try to smooth out the transition. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to pull the Band-Aid. And to do that, it's going to cause death, it's going to cause havoc, and the hope, my hope is that humanity can return to some kind of honest system. And for Trump to start out his administration rigging the market continually tells me there is no honesty in that formula. And whether or not it's being done for the good of the people or the bad of the people, to return to an honest form of government with based on an unhonest rigging of the markets. Like, yeah, Greenspan, I'm a big fan of his, but he did exactly that. He was building the system on dishonest computer rigging, trying to maintain the value of the dollar when they went off the gold standard.
Yeah.
Once we went off the gold standard, history says it crashes in 7 or 8 years, and that's where we hit in 79. And then Paul Volcker came in, started rigging the gold market more, and raised interest rates in a fake attempt to build confidence. But it's all a con. It's
Hmm.
a gigantic con, and
I
that's
agree
what
with you.
for Trump started his administration with continuing the con. I can't think of anything worse.
No, I agree with you, but again, I think there's more under the surface, and there's more than meets the eye. I'm of the camp. We have a non-existent manufacturing base. There are so many things that need to get redone, infrastructure projects that needs to get redone, manufacturing, retooling, all these things that need to get done. A quick, sudden, detonation of the entire thing. I don't know if it's really a prudent thing, man. My gut is like churning just even thinking about it.
Oh yeah, and it's
You know,
hard to.
it,
That's
it
why
dude,
they've
it's
never pulled the
very
trigger.
scary, right?
It's,
Because it's terrifying, man.
yeah, Catherine
It's
Austin
the
Fitts.
nuclear option.
Catherine Austin Fitts has said, who's going to stand up and press that red button?"
I know.
And
I'll be honest with you. I
nobody,
couldn't do it. I
nobody.
couldn't do
Well,
it.
do you think Trump can?
I don't think anybody can. Maybe you, because you're
Well,
crazy.
if
You're
nobody
a gang
can,
lord from Compton, so you could probably do it.
if nobody can, then we're going to get what we deserve. And I hate to say it, but we're going to get what we deserve if we continue the lies and the cheating and the manipulation, even under the guise of smoothing out the transition. We're
Yeah.
going to get what we deserve. And to me, yes, I am armed and ready to go. I have my guns, and I got enough to protect myself. I won't go on the offensive, but I will be on the defensive. If the marauding hordes come running up the street in Oakland, I
You're
can
gonna get on
defend
your
myself.
electric scooter. You're gonna have it outfitted with armor, and you're gonna have a 50 cal on the back seat. I would hate to get in your way, bro.
Oh, I suggest everybody get an electric scooter. I'm having so much fun with that thing. I ride.
Yeah. Rub it in, Mr. Sunny California, while I freeze my ass off
Oh,
here.
wait,
Rub it in.
wait. We have had a river in the atmosphere dumping rain on us for the past week. and
And you
it's
were
going to
probably
continue.
still out in your scooter with your rain gear, riding around town having fun.
No, I don't ride that thing in the rain.
Oh.
It's too
Meanwhile,
got too much
I-
pickup.
I'm walking out of here saying, "When will the hurting stop?" As the cold wind hits my face. When will the hurting stop? And my monkey fur is not offering me much protection, Bix.
All right, let's move
All right.
on. I mean, we could
Bitcoin
go down
derivatives. What's the deal? What's going on with that, man?
Bitcoin and derivatives. I'm still learning about Bitcoin. I'll tell everybody I am still learning, and one of the things I should have known long ago is that the Bitcoin price is determined by derivatives. It is not determined by transactions of somebody selling a Bitcoin to somebody else. Bitcoin prices are determined on exchanges, much like Mt. Gox, except a little safer supposedly, and a little more advanced. They're saying that 98% of the trades go on in China right now. Well,
Mm-hmm.
what are these trades? Are they Bitcoin transactions or are they trades? And from my research, they're trades. When you enter into a Bitcoin exchange, just like a stock market or a bond market, the same thing's going on there. You enter a pool of Bitcoin and a pool of cash, and you're allowed to trade back and forth. Those trades are not Bitcoin transactions per se; they are exchange trades. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not every time you trade, you're not adding that transaction to the blockchain. So it is completely separate from the blockchain, from Bitcoin and the blockchain technology until you pull that Bitcoin out. So if you're trading on BTCC, which is a Chinese exchange, and you're making trades back and forth, or you think you hold your Bitcoin in there, you don't. You have given your Bitcoin to this exchange. They use these Bitcoin to settle trades when people get out of the exchange, and when you leave the exchange, they will send the Bitcoin to your public address, and that is a real Bitcoin transaction. While it's in these exchanges, it is not going on the blockchain. It is a pool that's being traded back and forth, and from the volumes coming out of China, it is clear that there's some monkey business going on because there's like millions of Bitcoin trading hands, and there's not that many Bitcoin out there, especially in these markets. Now, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, these are just phony numbers that the exchanges are giving people because the exchange wants to be the best exchange, and the best exchange is the most liquid exchange, which has the highest volume." So the Chinese government has gone in and said, all right, we're looking at this. We're going to make a decision on this. Whether or not they're not saying anything's wrong with Bitcoin or the blockchain. They're saying there's problems with these exchanges
Mm-hmm.
because they aren't supervised enough, and it is new. So that's the reason the Bitcoin price is falling. It's basically fallen back to where it started to run a month ago, around the $800-$700 range is where it was in early December. So it's not that big a deal unless you're not used to volatility in Bitcoin and things like that. So I just want to warn everybody that if you don't hold Bitcoin in your own possession, meaning outside of an online wallet, outside of any of these exchanges, you are at risk of losing all your Bitcoin when the crash, a monetary crash, if a monetary crash happens, because all these exchanges and all these Bitcoin online wallets, they're businesses, and they run their business, pay their employees, pay their insurance with fiat money. When fiat money goes away, these exchanges will go away too, and they won't be transferring your Bitcoin to you out of the good of their heart. It'll be involved in a bankruptcy, just like Mt. Gox.
Huh.
So unless you're a trader and want to play that game in the Bitcoin trading world, get your Bitcoin onto a paper wallet,
Yeah.
and you can just go to YouTube and do a search for Bitcoin paper wallets. It'll show you how to do it. It's really easy. It's just a printout of your public and private address, and then you just send the amount of Bitcoin you want to send from your online account to your paper wallet. Make a couple copies and hide them in different places in case your house burns down or gets flooded or something like that, or you run into a shredder and it shreds your Bitcoin, because that's the only place it will be. It's just like cash. So I'm calling these Bitcoin derivatives because they really are. They're a derivative of a Bitcoin transaction. They're not real Bitcoin transactions on these exchanges. And it's something people need to keep in mind as we go forward. And the same thing with the stock market, the bond market. And you can just tell by the volumes that these aren't real shares being traded. These are derivatives of shares. These are high frequency trades, futures and options, things like that. And that's what's setting the price both on the exchanges for the stock market, the bond market, the gold market, but also on the Bitcoin price. Because in these exchanges, although they do have Bitcoin supposedly that they can pay out, when their traders want to cash out, these aren't Bitcoin transactions that are going on within the exchanges. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, man. That makes a lot of sense. So again, we've been saying for a while, it's getting it on physical Bitcoin. What's amazing to me is for them to even start doing this. It's amazing. It's just they just can't seem to help themselves but to get involved in any sort of fictitious financializing of anything, man. That's what it looks like. It's crazy.
Well, you also got to wonder, how much of this is J.P. Morgan trading back and forth with algorithms within these exchanges. J.P. Morgan, don't underestimate. They know everything about Bitcoin. Blythe Masters was, the queen of the credit default swap,
Yes,
who
she is.
blew that
Blythe.
thing up, blew that thing up, and then went to the head of J.P. Morgan's commodity trading, blew that thing up, and then she went into a Bitcoin company.
Yeah.
Don't think for a second that Jamie Dimon doesn't know what's going on with Bitcoin and how he can both rig it and accumulate it over time by rigging the Bitcoin markets. Blythe's in there too, and same with Larry Summers. He's on the board of 21 Inc., which is like a really interesting Bitcoin company. But yeah, these banks are in there too, and they're trying to shake you out and scare you. And remember, every time you hear someone say, "Oh, the governments and the central banks will never allow Bitcoin to, be viable because
Yeah.
they're a competitor." There haven't been any Bitcoin. It's been 8 years, and there's very little Bitcoin rules and regulations about this. Um, that statement only rings true if you think the bad guys are going to win. The good guys know what Bitcoin is, know what it represents, and know it represents freedom from government. And just think of like the people of Greece, if they had Bitcoin, throughout their population, when they had to go begging to the EU, they could have said, "Screw you! We got Bitcoin. We'll just go to Bitcoin." They would have been the richest country in the world right now, and completely self-sufficient and viable with using a cryptocurrency as their means of transacting business.
Mm.
So yeah, I think there's a lot to live through in Bitcoin. I've always said, get your Bitcoin, take it offline, and close your eyes, because it's going to be crazy volatile, and we're seeing that. And it hasn't changed much from December. It went up to 1100 and then back to 800 or 750. So if you just closed your eyes for December, it's like nothing happened at all.
It saying holds true, man, for gold and silver. It's if you're in the gold and silver things because you want to quote unquote invest in it, um, the game right now is to hold. The game right now is just to
Well, the game has always been the whole thing, but it's
mhm.
hard, and I mean, they've rigged the silver price for over 150 years, and that's the coiled spring of all coiled springs. Interesting, really interesting article. Kitco, Kitco, it's the most popular place where people go to look at the gold and silver price. For your average retail investor, I am not a fan of Kitco at all. Their pooled accounts are basically rehypothecation accounts, but they've been coming out with fake news lately, and it just kills me and it cracks me up that they tell half truths. And their latest was an article. It's one of their headline articles that says the U.S. Mint 15% 15% increase in gold bullion coin sales in 2017 with a big exclamation point. Okay. Did that happen? Yes, it happened. the mint just released the numbers on how many gold eagles were sold on the first day,
Yeah.
which is great. Yeah, that's great. But if you if you look at the silver numbers, the silver's up 35%. And the Kitco article says that at the very bottom of the article is, oh yeah, by the way, why wouldn't they start off by saying U.S. Mint silver up 35% on the first day of the 2017 Silver Eagle release? No, they hide it at the bottom, and they've been doing that all year. They in December they said they were talking about how gold is so great because the gold eagles were at its highest point since 2011 with 800,000 ounces sold, and they said and silver isn't good because silver eagles were down the most since 2012. Well, here's the problem: the silver eagles were put on allocation in like the first couple months, meaning they weren't selling them. They weren't allowed to give them out. And then they shut down the Silver Eagle program a month early. They shut it down in mid-November when it's usually mid-December. So yes, of course the sales are going to be down because you weren't selling them. They weren't allowed to be bought. And when silver eagles are not allowed to be bought, where do people go? They go to gold eagles. So gold eagles was up. Did these articles say anything about that? No. Kitco, I think, is massively short silver in their pooled accounts. Don't quote me on that. I don't know it, but judging from their articles that they release, it just makes sense. Why promote gold so much and discount the amazing story behind silver unless you've got a problem with physical silver?
Absolutely correct, man. Absolutely correct.
Wait, one more thing. Like I said, the Silver Eagles have gone on sale already to authorized distributors. And this is the first year ever since the program started in '86 that they were released in the basically the first week within January, or after the first week, because usually it's near the 20th or 30th of the month. And two, it's not on allocation supposedly. And because it's not an allocation, they sold 3.7 million ounces on the first day of Silver Eagles.
Yeah.
And they haven't the U.S. Mint is just kills me. They haven't posted the second day numbers. And it's like you're supposed to post the numbers every day after the close of business. That's what they always do. But today they have not. And to this moment, let me check right now, it was still at 3.7, unless they're claiming they sold none on the second day, which is, they can claim it, but it's not true. We are looking at, still 3.7, the exact same thing it was yesterday or on Monday.
Speaking of the exact same thing that hasn't moved, what about the S&P 500 yesterday?
Well, that's rigged. It's rigged computer programs.
Exactly. And people sit there like, wow, this is the first time it's done it since 9 years.
Well, you want to know what they're gunning for?
What are they gunning for?
On January 20th, Jack Lew is no longer in charge of the Exchange Stabilization Fund. And that's
Jackie Lew.
That's where most of the rigging happens. So I think they've already set their programs to gun for 20,000 the day Obama leaves, or right around the day Obama leaves. They want the Dow at 20,000, and then they say,
the Dow's going to hit 20,000 on the day Obama. It's going to probably hit 21,000 on the day Obama leaves.
No, 20. They just want that round number. And I think it was programmed 20. In back in 2009 when the major rigging. You remember the bottoming, and every newscaster came out and said, "We've hit the bottom, and Treasury Secretary, "We've hit the bottom." It was a big plan.
Yeah,
I wrote about it on the day. I said, looks like long-term manipulation was going to kick in, and then here we are, 8 years later. I didn't know it'd be this long, but
it's hilarious, man. I mean, 8 years of Obama. It feels like 16 years of this guy.
Well, it's not Obama. It's been.
I know, but he's just such a narcissist. He was the at least the Bushes and the Clintons were, they were low key. They were, you called them an idiot. You knew they were criminal, but they were at least,
they were better liars.
They were better liars. They were not so overt and narcissistic. I mean, who awards himself his own, like a medal of like a commendation medal? I mean, this is ridiculous.
He won the Nobel Peace Prize for keeping peace among nations, and was the only U.S. president to be at war every single day of an 8-year term.
Yep, every single day of the 8-year term, and he is also the in 8 years he dropped 28,000 bombs on seven countries. What a guy!
It's sad.
Good riddance, Barry Skidmark.
All of it is because of the unbacked fiat money system.
Oh, you're absolutely
It
right.
always gets back to that. These guys have no power if you take back the unbacked fiat money system.
Exactly correct. Exactly correct. Which brings us to the last portion of the day, of this wonderful day on Hump Day, the day that we celebrate all things the road to Ruda. Preparing for the collapse of exchanges, sir. What say you?
Yeah, yeah. I think that one of the hardest things for our people are going to deal with is having two separate prices: a price for physical silver that's in the hundreds of dollars, and a price for physical silver on the exchanges that's at $20. And we're going to jump up and scream and everything, but they're going to, until the exchanges close, which will coincide with the crashing of the derivative market. There might be a huge distortion between the real prices of things and the exchange prices, Bitcoin included. Bitcoin, they these exchanges are nothing more than pooled accounts of fraud and trickery. And then when the exchanges shut down with the crashing of the system, you don't have a price for gold, and you don't have a price for silver that you can rely on, and that's going to be a hard thing to kind of get your head around and say, oh, did I make the right decision? If nobody knows the price of silver, how can I sell my 1 ounce silver round? But I think all things will, in the end, when we rebuild, those are the assets you want: is gold, silver, Bitcoin, mainly silver and Bitcoin, but
Right.
gold just because I think there's tons of gold that have come onto a market. But yeah, gold is great because we're going to use it as money. I don't think we'll use silver as money because it's too valuable.
With that being said, my man, we are at the end of the broadcast. Why don't you give out your info on how people could follow you, how they subscribe to the Road to Ruta newsletter, and your website, bro?
Sure. Roadtoruta.com. There's an email service you can sign up for free, and there's a paid service called the Private Road. I am coming out next week with my 2017 timeline, which kind of goes through how I think the year is going to go down, where prices will be, and when. This is my take again. Don't think of it as the gospel, but this is kind of what I see on the road to Ruta, and that's a Private Road article. So if you're interested in joining the Private Road, I also send out $30 of free Bitcoin hard copy paper wallet for every subscription or renewal. So a lot of people just join because they want that $30 of hard copy Bitcoin. But it's $300 or $299 to join for a year, and I think it's worth it. So come check it out.
Awesome. And with that being said, folks, I am the illustrious ape, the salacious ape, and we'll be back here next week on another Hump Day. So again, check out Bix's stuff. If you haven't subscribed, I subscribe to his newsletter. A lot of the guys on Rogue Money subscribe to Bix's newsletter. So subscribe to it, check it out, and follow him on Twitter at Road to Ruta, and you can follow me at the Rogue Money. And again, check out roguemoney.net. And with that being said, check out myfreedomnow.us if you need your credit fixed, you need to get a high score, you need to be debt free. So check out myfreedomnow.us. And with that being said, we are over and out. Take it away, CJ.